We've been discussing about the realization of the first supramental path, Theravada Mega. As soon as it arises, one realizes the Nibbana, and at the same time abandons and eradicates the two unwholesome impurities, namely Sakaya Ditti, personality view, and Vicikicca, skeptical doubt. As regards Sakaya Ditti, personality view, it is the distorted view of individuality, holding a false view false view of existence of self or soul with respect to the mind and body, the realities of mind and body, which can be realized experientially. And then as regards the second one, Vicikicca, skeptical doubt. It means not believing in what should be believed, or things which are worthy of faith. And at the same time, it overcomes or eradicates the apaya-related greed and hatred and delusion. In this way, the unwholesome deeds of the past will not get effect from the time one realizes the first supramental path. And in future also, this individual or this person will not perform or commit any unwholesome deeds which will pull you down, pull him or her down to the states of loss. Hence, one is said to have gained the security in one's life, assurance of existence. In essence, the first supramental path, Theravada Mega, destroys all the defilements which are related to the gross forms of greed, hatred, and delusion. Such is its function. And this has not been experienced by this individual before. That means one has not destroyed these unwholesome the defilements. But now only is with the realization of the first supramental path, this Theravada Mega destroys these defilements which are related or which are associated with gross forms of these unwholesome roots. As such is its function. It eradicates the defilements which are related to the states of loss. However, it needs to be shown that the inspiring states which arises in the rebirth consciousness, of rebirth linking consciousness, and the consciousness during the lifetime. If these facts or these things are not shown, then we will not be discharging our duties. So, this Theravada Mega eradicates the defilements which have not been eradicated, namely Sakaya Ditti and Vicikicca. It also brings benefits, other benefits as well. So we shall discuss about these things in brief as shown in the text. And this has been given in the text about the unique benefits of the Theravada Mega, the first supramental path. And this is how it has been mentioned in the Theravada Mega, the path of purity or purification. As regards this realization of the first supramental path, it not only destroys just the gross form of greed and so on, it has other benefits as well. It has other qualities. It also destroys other defilements which have not been destroyed, as has been given in the text. Not only the destruction of the gross form of greed, which are the lower form of or gross form of defilements, there are also other benefits. Now, there has been suffering of rebirth, which is the beginningless or endless samsara, round of births and rebirths. And one has endured the suffering all along this all along this round of births and rebirths. And due to karma vata, actions performed, round of action, there are results, and one goes on being reborn in this round of existences. As a result of this avijja, ignorance, and not knowing the flaws of the existence, one longs to be reborn in one or the other existence, like the human realm or the deva realm. And once one is reborn in that realm which one has longed, one clings to it. And then once one is reborn in this existence which one has clung to, one goes on holding the perverted view of person, being, individual, self, soul, and so on. In this way, as a result of this avijjatana upadana, this is the round of defilements, ignorance, craving, and clinging. There were this wrong mentality. With wrong mentality, one will commit wrong things by body and speech. They are unwholesome deeds, known as akusala. Then one is reborn in wrong destinies, lower destinies. And one performs good deeds. Also, one is reborn in good existences such as human and devas. Or one has like this jhana, absorption. One will be reborn in the fine material and immaterial planes. And even when one is reborn in such planes, one will perform his group of defilements, round of defilements, known as avijjatana upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging. And this, once again, as a result of this round of defilement, there will be again round of actions. Round of action leading to round of results. In this way, it goes on like in the round, endless or beginningless round of births and rebirths, like a vast ocean. So once one realizes the first supramundane path, namely the Soravali Mega, one has tried out the existence beyond the eighth existence. Such benefit also will arise in the person, in the realizer of this supramundane path. So, in this way, as a result of the destruction of these apaya-related defilements, there are these initial results and continuing results, as has been explained in the text. This way, apaya is said to close the door to apaya. Soravali Mega is said to have closed the door to apaya. When you say apaya, this is a Pali word. This means that this is a place which is devoid of good deeds, which will lead you to human, deva, and nibbana happiness. One cannot perform, or one will find it very difficult to perform good deeds leading to the happiness of human, deva, and nibbana. Such in Pali is known as apaya. So this Soravali Mega, after once it has eradicated these two defilements, namely Ditthi and Vicikiccha, wrong view and skeptical doubt, it also eradicates the apaya-related gross forms of greed, hatred, and delusion, so that the past deeds of this Sorapana will not give effect to him or her, nor he or she will perform or commit unwholesome deeds which will lead to the states of loss. Such is the unique benefit of Soravali Mega, the first supramundane path. which is very inspiring. And this closes the door to Apaya. There are 4 realms in Apaya. One is the helldom and animaldom, and Peta, that is ghosts, and 2 forms of ghosts. One cannot perform. One will find even one perform. One will find it very difficult to form causes for rebirth in the human deva or nibbana. So look at these animals. As we always say, they are living in the spirit of the survival of the fittest. The strong one is bullying the weak ones, and when the bullied one, the weak one dies as a result of being bullied, if it dies with the wrong attitude, then it will also fall down into lower and lower realms. So when we think about it, it's quite dangerous, and leave alone this life in helldom and how cruel how things will be, how things will be in such realms. And animals are cruel to each other, to one another, and they have to look for food. And you know how difficult for them, for these animals, whether big or small, have to look for food. And it's very difficult to be free from such existence. Another benefit is the realization or coming into possession of 7 Aryan wealth. Once one reaches the cessation of Nibbana, or Nibbana, which is the cessation, previously one has not experienced it with one personal knowledge, that is Pachaka Siddha, not yet. Nor with Anumana Siddha, influential knowledge, one was able to have faith, believe it, with just faith in the Buddha, that there is such a thing as, that the possibility that there is such a thing as Nibbana. Now, with the practice of Vipassana and progressing along the stages of insight, beginning with the purity of mind, until one reaches the maturity of the practice, realize the real, genuine pleasure, that is the cessation of suffering. Once you realize that cessation, you come into possession of the 7 Aryan wealth. This is known as Aryan wealth, or Aryan Dana, or the wealth of the noble ones. Arya means pure and noble. As ordinary beings, we are thick with defilements or impurities. Whatever we do with impurities. Hence, Puttujana, ordinary beings. In Pali we call it Puttujana. So when we do or speak impurely, then our life will be impure. Because we are thinking impurely or with impure mind, we are speaking in an impure manner, and we are acting physically in an impure manner. In this way, both we are impure by body, speech and mind. Once one realizes the Saraparimagga, the first supramundane path, or stream Endara, one becomes pure. Although the entire body may not be pure, because we just come to the first of the supramundane path, we are pure in one's own right. As such is known as Arya. Then, when we are impure, we become noble or sublime. Hence, Arya means pure and noble, or pure and sublime. With the practice of meditation, once we realizes the first supramundane path, that is Saraparimagga, the path of the stream Endara, or stream entry, we become the noble one, Arya. And once we become a noble one, Arya, we come into possession of wealth, properties, and such as Dhamma, known as Pali as Dhamma. And whereas for wealth, as you know, you seek wealth. Once you get the wealth, it becomes your own. You can use it, if it's a wealth, to support your living, like food, clothing and shelter. Then all the living conditions will be in order, will be comfortable with your property, with your wealth. And you'll be able to do away with poverty. Then you come into possession of this wealth, and you become wealthy, such is known as Dhamma, owner of Dhamma. Though one does not own material wealth, once we practice and realizes the first subramundane part of stream entry, we are said to become wealthy in the spiritual sense. Woman or man of such situation, whether he or she has become a Anapana, then he or she will not be poor at the lay door. Instead, she is said to be wealthy or rich, and his or her life will not be in vain. His or her life will be a worthy one. And what are these 7 wealth, or 7 kinds of wealth? The first one is Saddha Dhamma, the wealth of faith and confidence. So, having faith as regards things which are worthy of faith, Saddhaya Votru, one's faith will become unshakable with respect to these things which are worthy of faith. And the second wealth which one comes into possession is Sila Dhamma, the wealth of moral virtue. One will possess, or one will take the vows of precepts, at least 5 precepts, and one's 5 precepts will be very steadfast, will be unshakable, will never be broken, because this becomes one's own property. And the third one is Hiri Dhamma, that is the wealth of moral shame of wrongdoing. There will be no shame, one will feel shameful of committing unwholesome deeds, dirty deeds. And the fourth one is Ottappa Dhamma, the wealth of moral fear. One will become fearful of wrongdoing, that is wealth of moral fear of wrongdoing. And the next one is Sutta Dhamma, the knowledge, the learning. Sutta means learning. There are 2 kinds of learning, Agama Sutta. That means one learns the method of practice, the correct method of practice. This becomes one's own, and one will never forget it. And as a result of the correct practice which one has learned, one will undertake the practice and gain the benefit of the practice, such as Adhigama Sutta. These 2 kinds of sutta, learning. But that means you are fulfilled, endowed with both theoretical and practical aspects of learning. So once you gain the Sarabharimika, you overcome these 2 unwholesome deeds, the deity, wrong view, your personality view, and skeptical doubt, psychiatric deity, and Vijayikiccha, and other related defilements. You come in possession of Chāga Dhamma, wealth of generosity. Then the last one is Paññā Dhamma, the wealth of wisdom, because you have gained the knowledge of the first subramundane part, Sarabharimika Jnana, so by which you are able to realize the cessation of the existential suffering of mind and body. Such are the 7 Aryan wealth or noble wealth, wealth of noble ones. Though one may not be of high, one may not belong to a high strata of human existence. Once one realizes the first path, one becomes Arya, then one is said to have reached a high standard in the spiritual sense. So one has become one of the noble ones, Aryas. And then once one becomes Arya, one comes into possession of these 7 kinds of Aryan wealth. And this kind of wealth will go along with you all along your lifetimes. Throughout your lifetimes, future existences, they will follow you like a shadow. And nobody will be able to rob you of such wealth, unlike material wealth. And instead, they will follow you throughout your lifetimes. Other benefits are that one overcomes the wrong view, wrong paths. So whether there are right paths, there are 8 right paths and 8 wrong paths. And 8 wrong paths are Micca Detti, wrong view, Micca Sankappa, wrong aim, wrong thoughts, Micca Vacha, wrong speech, Micca Kammanta, wrong actions, Micca Ajiva, wrong livelihood, Micca Vayama, wrong effort, wrong energy, Micca Sati, wrong mindfulness, and Micca Samadhi. These are the wrong paths, 8 wrong paths, and as much as there are 8 wrong paths, there are also 8 right paths. And these 8 wrong paths are the opposite of 8 right paths, Samma and Micca. Like a skilled driver, when one drives his or her car, one knows how to go along the lane, the right lane, keep the right lane. One knows how to control the speed of the car, and one knows how to be mindful about turning the corners and things like that. And one knows how to go along according to the lights as shown by the traffic lights. So too with the Sorapanna, stream enterer, one will be able to lead one's life like a skilled driver. One understands what to do and what not to do, like a driver following the rules of the traffic light. And one will also be mindful of all one's actions, whether it's physical or verbal or mental actions, and one will be able to abstain from these things which should be abstained, like when one comes to the red light, one stops and so on. Then one also knows how not to make mistakes and not to harm others because of one's mistakes. In this way, one, as a Sorapanna, one is able to walk along one's path, like a skilled driver following the right lane and follow the right traffic lights. And this Sabba Vira Bhayan. This Sabba Vira means all enemies and fearful dangers, fearful enemies. One becomes free. This is freedom. One realizes freedom from all enemies, all fearful dangers. There are 2 kinds of Vira, enemies, namely Kilesa Vira or Akusala Vira, the enemy of defilements, enemy as defilements, and enemy as unwholesomeness. And another enemy is Pogala Vira, the individual enemy as individual. So these 2 kinds of enemies. One gains freedom from such enemies. Now as regards the first kind of enemy, which is Kilesa enemy or Akusala enemy, this is more dangerous than their personal or individual enemy. As for individual or personal enemy, you really encounter such enemies. you only encounter sometimes. As regards the first kind of enemy, kilesa enemy or akusala enemy, they are enemies within. They occur in yourself, in your body. Drifting along the current of greed, lobha, and doing all sorts of misconduct, indulging in greed. Drifting along the current of dosa, ill will or anger, indulging in those, committing unwholesome deeds, indulging in this anger or ill will, and then the stupidity, delusion, not knowing the truth, indulging in it, doing unwholesome deeds, and also other many sorts of defilements, such as pride, envy, avarice, something like that. All these things are enemies which occur in your body. They are enemy within, and they're known as akusala vira or kilesa vira. And once you gain this first mundane path, you are able to overcome these enemies within, such as you'll be free from killing, stealing, and so on, which are based on gross forms of greed, hatred, and delusion. Well, if you harm others, you'll be doing it, you'll be committing dosa, anger, ill will, and if you covet others' properties, this again is a result of greed, and if you commit sexual misconduct, this is a result of greed and hatred, and if you take intoxicants, this is also a result of delusion. So all these things are enemy within, and they're known as akusala vira or kilesa vira. And once you gain the Saraswati Mega, you are able to overcome all these kinds of enemies. As for lay people, one takes vows of practice, vows of precepts, namely the 5 precepts. Then one will not commit unwholesome deeds, such as killing, stealing, and so on. All these things are cut off, and the Surapana will gain freedom from such unwholesome deeds. Such is winning oneself, gaining victory over oneself, because one is able to control oneself, not indulging in kilesa and defilements. In this way, you are also overcoming these defilements. You gain the upper hand of these impurities. Thus you will be free from these enemies within, and also you will be free from the dangers which can arise as a result of these enemies. There are many enemies as given in the text. So because of the immoral conduct, there are many immoral, unwholesome results that you can get out of these things. So in this way, you are gaining the world. Your own little world becomes peaceful. Your own little world becomes peaceful. You are able to gain victory over your own little world. By gaining victory over your little world, you are also doing service and welfare for the society, so that the world of others also will become safe and peaceful. In this way, we can build up peace in the world, which is desirable. So whoever wants to be peaceful and safe will undertake this practice of mindfulness, and until one realizes at least the first Brahmanic path, then one will gain the real peace. And the next one benefit is that it causes one to become the son or daughter of the fully self-enlightened, omniscient Buddha. This is quite correct. As a good child, one has got to listen the parents, one has got to obey the parents. If one is not obeying or following the Buddha's teachings, then one will not be Buddha's sons or daughters. One will be a nominal son or daughter, but not the real one. To be the real one, to become a real son and daughter, one must obey and undertake the practice at least to realize the first super-mundane path. Then one will overcome the abide-related defilements and by reaching the cessation of suffering. So then one will become an obedient son or daughter. So with the realization of the first path, one is said to be an obedient son or daughter, one is following, one is listening to the Buddha's teachings, and but that is because of the practice of Vipassana. Progressing along the path, one is able to reach the maturity of the practice to the realization of the cessation of suffering. That is Nibbana. At which stage there will be no more wrongdoing by body, speech and mind, no more violent deeds as a result of these defilements. One will become good child, or we will become good children, and one will have to practice until we reach that stage. As Putthajanas, we are thick with defilements, impurities, and as Putthajanas, ordinary beings, we are not yet Buddha's children, Buddha's sons or daughters. Though we may be nominal Buddhists, that will pay homage to the three gems at one time or another. It means at one time or another existence that follow, we may be following other denominations and paying homage to the other religious leaders. And so, if we do not become realize a noble one, Arya, then we may come to such a situation. So it is very important to realize this path in this very life. Then we will be sure. There are hundreds of benefits one can gain once one realizes the first super-mundane path. And for that, the Sarabhari Mega takes the responsibility. And some of these, though not all, benefits will be mentioned in the discourse on great reviewing, which will follow in later days. So, if we talk about the hundreds and hundreds of benefits, there will be no end to it. It won't end even if the retreat ends. So, there are many benefits as a result of this Sarabhari Mega, or super-mundane path. And as has been assured in the great discourse on the foundations, four foundations of mindfulness, that one will gain the Arahata Mega, supreme holiness, the path of supreme holiness, beginning with the beauty of mind. So, in order to gain the Arahata Mega, one has got to gain the Nagami Mega, the third path. And to gain the third path, one must gain the second path, and so on. One must gain the first path too. So only when one gains the first path, one will go on gaining and progressing along the paths to the final path. So realization of the first path gives guarantee to the final gaining of realization of the final path. So in order to gain the final path, one must at least practice to gain the first path, namely the first super-mundane path. So such are the benefits that can be gained as a result of the realization of the first super-mundane path. That's all for today.